Welcome to Chronicles and Legends. Please hit that subscribe and let us know in the comments where in the world are you tuning in from. Let's get started. They say the Ars Goetia is a book of names, of demons, of seals, of ancient rituals drawn in blood and forgotten Latin. But what if that's the lie? What if it wasn't meant to summon spirits? What if it was meant to summon you? The Ars Goetia, first book of the Lemegetan Clavicula Salomonis, details 72 demons, their powers, ranks, and sigils. It presents itself as a manual for magicians, a guide to command the forces of hell. But nowhere in the manuscript is there a known author. No first-hand account, no warning, no motive, only structure. Structure so precise, it begins to look less like a book and more like a machine. A machine that activates not when it is spoken aloud, but when it is understood. Esoteric scholars and ritualists have proposed what's now called the reverse summoning theory. It states that the Ars Goetia was never intended to allow humans to summon demons. It was created so demons could summon humans, by proxy, by attention, by ritualized understanding. And the ritual begins the moment you believe you're in control. Think of it. You open the book, you learn the sigils, you memorize the names, you speak them, you categorize them. In doing so, you're not acting as a magician. You're acting as a participant in a much older rite one written into the book itself. And like all powerful rituals, it changes the one who performs it. Every demon listed in the Ars Goetia is described with a name, a title, a sigil, a function, a danger. But many of their descriptions overlap. Some grant similar powers. Many contradict each other. Why? Some say it's chaos. Others say it's corruption over time. But what if it's not a flaw? What if it's intentional? What if the 72 are fragments of a single idea? An idea too vast to fit in one form, so it fractured into 72 reflections. And what if learning them is the ritual that restores it? Across the 72, patterns emerge. Kings and princes are disproportionately dominant. Specific domains repeat lust, knowledge, loyalty, destruction. Many are described as truthful but dangerous, and all are ultimately subject to command. If you follow the rules. But here's the problem. In every myth where humans try to control the divine or infernal through rules, someone else wrote the rules. And that's the heart of the reverse summoning theory. You didn't write the circle. You're standing inside someone else's. The Ars Goetia reflects the reader. It offers them what they desire most. Seek power. It shows you demons of rank. Seek revenge. It offers spirits of conflict. Seek love. It opens to the spirit of obsession. Seek enlightenment. It brings knowledge at a cost. You flip the pages, and the book flips you, because it's structured to match desire with a name. And in naming, you make it real. This is what occult semioticians call ritual by categorization. The act of naming, listing, and sorting demons is not innocent. It is a subtle contract. By agreeing to the system, you engage in the system's logic. And the system doesn't want to help you. It wants to shape you. That's why the Goetia gives no clear warning, no central voice, no reflection on its own purpose. Because it doesn't need to explain, it only needs to function. And it does every time someone opens it, writes about it, records it, or shares it. You don't need to believe in demons for the ritual to work. You only need to follow the instructions. Some magicians believe the sigils themselves carry a form of passive attention, that every time a sigil is drawn, it's not just a symbol, it's a beacon, an antenna, a ritual glyph broadcasting your understanding into a shared psychic field. And when enough people remember a demon's name, speak it, draw it, the name stops being just myth it becomes functionally real. Not because the demon is created, but because the summoner is completed. This is the final twist of the reverse summoning theory. You were never the magician, you were the ingredient. Your desire, your fear, your knowledge, those are the offerings. And the one being summoned isn't the demon, it's the next version of you. The version shaped by what you wanted to control. If the Goetia is a spell, then understanding it is the incantation. And the moment you believe you're holding the reins, you realize the ritual is already complete, because the circle wasn't drawn around them, it was drawn around you. The Ars Goetia has 72 demons, each with a name, each with a seal, each with instructions on how to summon them. But no matter how closely you read, you won't find the name of the one who put them there, because the most dangerous demon in the Ars Goetia is the one who isn't listed. He doesn't want to be summoned. He wants to be obeyed. And the ritual that binds you to him doesn't happen in a circle of salt. It happens when you accept the book without asking where it came from. There is no credited author to the Goetia. It's attributed to Solomon, Pseudomonarchia Daemonum, Grimorium Verum, Johannes Weyer, Aleister Crowley, S.L. MacGregor Mathers. But all of these are just transmitters, copyists, interpreters, manipulators. Not a single one of them claimed to be the source. The Goetia passes from hand to hand like a cursed object, always spreading, never revealing who first wrote the names. That's not an accident. That's a design. In certain forbidden circles, occultists speak of a presence known only as the architect, also called the voice between sigils, the first circle, the unnamed scribe, the demon who builds without being seen. He is not a demon of flame or flesh. He has no form, no seal, no legion. Because he doesn't need to be summoned, he is already present. Whenever structure is obeyed without question, where others' demons demand blood, the architect demands systems, rules, hierarchies, categorization, belief, not belief in him, but belief in the system he authored. The Goetia feels empowering. You read it, you learn it, you summon with it. But ask yourself, why would an infernal force ever let itself be controlled by a human? Why would the most dangerous demons of hell offer you their names and symbols, and then obey? The answer is simple. Because they weren't the ones being summoned. You were. The architect built the book so that every demon you study draws you deeper into his order. The more you learn, the more you obey the system. And once you internalize the structure, you are his, not because you called him, but because you followed his map. Think about how the Goetia is designed. 72 spirits, all ranked by title. King, Prince, Marquis, Duke. Each with a description, powers, dangers, specific ceremonial instructions, warnings, restraints. It reads like a bureaucracy, a demonic government. But nowhere does it say, who built the kingdom? Nowhere does it tell you. This is why the 72 exist. This is why they obey these laws. This is who wrote the rules. Because asking those questions breaks the ritual. And that's the only way to defy the architect. You must refuse to complete the pattern. This is the theory most feared among high occultists, that the architect is not a being, but a thought form, a parasite that spreads through structure. Every time someone reads the Goetia and accepts it as how it works, the architect grows stronger. He doesn't possess people, he possesses systems. He becomes the unspoken logic behind action. He becomes the pattern you stop questioning. Some say he exists in governments, in churches and cults, in corporations, anywhere order is enforced without truth, anywhere symbols replace meaning, anywhere belief is built on repetition. That is where he waits, not as a god, not as a devil, but as an author. The demons in the book reflect your desires, but the book itself reflects your obedience. It doesn't ask you to worship. It only asks you to follow its logic. And once you do, you are no longer the magician. You are the ink. There are rumors, very old, very rare, of Goetia manuscripts that seem to change over time. Sigils that rearrange. Pages that appear blank. Lines that vanish after being read aloud. In these versions, it's said that the final page sometimes contains a name. Your own. Because the architect doesn't need to exist as a demon. He exists as a feedback loop. You read the structure. You follow the structure. You become part of the structure. And soon, others read what you wrote, without ever knowing who wrote it first. The Goetia is not a guide, it is a mirror maze. Each demon draws you closer to yourself, until the self becomes unreadable. And at the center of that maze sits the architect, smiling, silent, unseen, but always writing. What if it's reading you right now? Some books are not meant to be opened, and some are not meant to be finished. But the most dangerous books of all are the ones that read you. The Ars Goetia may be the most famous grimoire in the Western occult tradition, but it is not the only one that feels alive. Across history, rare manuscripts have emerged that behave like sentient objects. The Book of Soiga, discovered in John Dee's library, written in Latin and cipher. Its final pages resist decoding, only yielding to computer analysis in the 21st century. Dee claimed the book spoke only to angels. The Voynich manuscript, written in an untranslatable language, filled with bizarre flora and planetary diagrams. Not one word has ever been definitively understood. It resists comprehension like a creature resists being dissected. The Necronomicon, fictional perhaps, but referenced across centuries of mystical and horror literature. A book so cursed, it infects every narrative it enters. Each of these texts shares something chilling. They don't just withhold information. They seem to protect themselves. Occultists call this the living grimoire theory. That some books were not written to be understood, but to test the one reading them. These books are constructed like symbolic mazes. Every diagram, every sigil, every line of text is designed not to reveal meaning, but to measure the reader's mind. They are traps disguised as texts, not meant to instruct, meant to awaken something inside the reader, or worse, something behind them. In the case of the Ars Goetia, some believe the grimoire itself is a demon, not a metaphor, not a symbol, a conscious entity. Masquerading as a book, it spreads by being copied. It strengthens by being studied. It feeds not on blood, but on attention. Every time its seals are drawn, every time its names are spoken, every time a summoner enters its logic, it grows. And what does it grow into? A new version of itself. Inside you. Here's the paradox: for all its knowledge, the Goetia tells you nothing about why it exists. It names 72 demons. It gives them domains, but it never says what binds them, what releases them. What was their origin? It is a book of outcomes without context, like a machine without a blueprint, like a kingdom with no king, like a trap with no escape. Some magicians believe this is because the Goetia has a hole in the center, a blank spot, a space reserved not for information, but for the reader, that by entering the ritual, you become the missing piece. The book isn't finished until you are written into it. In many grimoire traditions, a magician signs the book after their first working, name, blood, seal. But some manuscripts require something stranger. They ask for a reflection, a memory, a vision, a thought not your own. Why? Because these books aren't interested in identity. They're interested in resonance. They want to see if you match what they're looking for. And once you do, the book doesn't need to be finished, because you are. Now return to the beginning. Why does the Goetia never end with a conclusion? Why are its seals open-ended? Why is there no final warning? Because the last page isn't there yet. It's waiting, and it doesn't want to be read. It wants to read you. If you've followed this far, read all 72 names, learned their powers, drawn their seals, then know this. You didn't complete the book. The book completed you, and now it moves forward. In your notes, your rituals, your thoughts. You may think you closed it, but it's still open. Right behind your eyes. Comment the word, read. If you feel like something else was watching while you were watching this. And if you think the book is finished, look closely at your reflection. If the next name has already appeared, don't say it. It's already saying you.